You're listening to the Who is Christine Anyway podcast season 2. Today's special guest is Jake Trowbridge of Balaguer Guitars. Enjoy.
And it's one of those things too, like when we go into discussing how people interact with other people and the psychology of things overall, you know, it goes into the freedom to, freedom from. Like you have a freedom to express your mind, but you have a freedom from persecution or whatever that doesn't exist in a negative way. So, you know, at the same time, cool, you can say whatever the hell you want, but guess what else I can do too? You know, that kind of thing. That's always interesting. And it's, you know, the freedom to, freedom from thing is often lost, especially probably more so now in common times as opposed to before. I mean, it's always happened. Negativity's always happened. But, you know, you have a freedom to speak your mind all you want. That's the greatest thing about this. But at the same time, I can ask you questions and, you know, that's how it can go. Okay, if you feel that way, then support it. You know, put your, you know, where's the receipts? You know, per se is the term. But at the freedom to and freedom from, like, again, like I said, always okay to be angry, never okay to be cruel. And I think, you know, with the A&R and everything else, I think it's vetted really well, the people that come through.
I think so as well.
Yeah, I think that is just the case. And I think that, you know, handing down, it's almost like having family values. And that's the way to look at it. Like, we'll take care of you, but you have to take care of your people. But that doesn't mean 24/7 access to those people either. Not for you guys particularly, but like fans cannot overstep those bounds. If they expect, you know, to not be pulled back by security, we do not pull on that person's hair. You know, like it's kind of like mothering children to a degree. But at the same time, it's also like mothering children in the sense that you're nurturing players that were people or fans that may become players based on their experience with you. But I've also seen it the other way where some brands are, you know, endorsing an artist and the artist is just shut down. And it is not present. So, and oftentimes in those scenarios, I see a lot of the artists being pressed into engagements that go with their endorsement that make them uncomfortable.
Yes.
So they don't feel, they're like, why am I going to promote something that doesn't make me feel seen and heard and respected and appreciated? So it's kind of one of those things where I think it's great. Like it's not like Tony the Tiger. They're great, but it is realistically, it's a great concept. It's a novel concept. And I think that speaks volumes because I know a lot of kids are like my first Fender for a long time when I was growing up. I was born in the 80s, so late 1900s, we'll just say that.
Oh man, I saw that the other day and it hurt me a little bit. I'm also
way better than having to admit I was born in the 80s. Okay, so the late 1900s when we had, you know, God, it sounds like I'm on the Oregon Trail.
Right. Hashtag no dysentery.
Yeah. I can't afford to lose any more oxen.
Right.
Again, this is where the goat thing comes in handy.
When it happens, you're my first call. I'm warning you ahead of time.
Hold on, I already know my first person. We're good. Yeah. So it's a lot of people see these, you know, there's idols. It's almost like they see musicians as a demigod, which is funny because, you know, we all get weird in buildings and people think, you know, the music industry, yes, it's deep, it's big, but it's also not. It's like it's the clearest water you'll ever see. And everybody knows everybody.
Yep. 100%.
You know, I know a lot of us all look forward to NAMM for seeing each other, for one.
Yep.
So these trade shows are important for that. But it's also really cool to kind of be like, it's kind of like hanging your artwork on the fridge. The new models, the new designs. It's like, who's unveiling what, you know? So as Balaguer moves forward through time, do we have, I mean, obviously you probably have things up your sleeve. And I'm not going to pressure you to rat them out. I am going to tell Joey should give you a raise up.
I appreciate that. I'll always encourage that sort of speech right there. That's all I want to do.
Just a couple emails from not obvious email addresses, like Christine@gmail.com. So it's definitely not her.
Right. Jake's #1 fan at gmail.com.
Not Jake. Jake from Balaguer. But it's one of those things too where, you know, the brand is evolving and I'm seeing changes and I'm seeing like kind of things and I'm like, I don't want to see an acoustic guitar at some point, like a full-blown acoustic. But that's me. Because I know some of the players like to play softer stuff, and it would be really neat. I know country plays electric guitars too, but it would be really awesome to see.
It would be. I can safely say right now it is not part of the plan.
Mhm.
But what I can say is, so Joe has built acoustics over the years. It's not
It's
like,
on the shelf, but it's not on the table.
yeah. And one day maybe, because they are great guitars. I've played one of them. They're fantastic. But I just, right now mostly from a just constructability standpoint, because it takes
Yeah.
so long to build an
Yeah.
acoustic. I think it's sort of off the table. That's off the table.
Yeah.
But in the future, I hope it's not, because they are great guitars. And we do always have, there are always a dozen things in the hopper, and it's about choosing the ones that fit what we're doing in this moment and what's going to fit in the market, and, all of that stuff, because Joe is nonstop coming up with new ideas. So
He's got an artist's mind. That's
Oh,
exactly what it is.
100%.
Lutherie is an
Yeah.
actual artistry. And I know you know that. You don't need me to tell you that. But I didn't realize that. And I know everybody who's probably going to listen to this doesn't realize that the actual curation of an instrument is artistry.
100%. Every step of the
Your
way.
palette is wood, your palette is components, your palette is, what you're working with overall as a whole. It's the sound, everything coming out of that instrument. And it's also really interesting because people start talking about how music utilized for therapy, that makes your instruments all the more important.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, I think the part of me that kind of goes, man, I hope they do an acoustic at some point, is the way that you guys have done such justice to electric guitars that are, not acoustic type. I have to try to be vaguely vague because I know people listen to this don't really play guitar and don't really
Sure.
know. So it's kind of electric, acoustic, okay? We'll go that way. We'll go into details after, but it's one of those things where I think that the craftsmanship of the product that you guys currently make right now is so high grade that when you transcend down into the next level or up into the next level or left, right, whichever way you go, it's not going to be, it's going to be a unilateral move. It's not going to be a degrading if you guys will make something different. And the fact that, you guys do have a decent turnaround time for a semi-custom guitar. Like when you look at it, it's not crazy. So
shorter than most.
What was that?
Shorter than most.
By far.
Longer than some, shorter than most.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. But with the customer service at where it is, it's like, what is that worth to you?
Well, and that is the trade-off, right? Is, it is a very different experience building a select custom with us than a similar experience at lots of other places, which is not to slander them. It's just
it's just your guys'
process is very, and it is, I think there's something that you hit on there that's really cool, which is as we continue to evolve as a company and we do grow and we do all this stuff, I guess kind of coming full circle in a way, we are just 6 people. We do meet all the time. We do work this stuff out. I think it's easy to look at a company and just see them as a company, and something that I never claim, nor have I ever even come close to claiming, is luthership, right? Joe is a luthier. I can tech at best, but he's a luthier. And there's something, I've had this conversation recently, which is why it's fresh in my mind, but there's something about woodworkers in general that I think makes them a unique breed. I don't know, there's something about the way that specifically someone who works with wood, like you said, he's an artist. Artistry is like this big thing, and then there are the subsets, right? And lutherie is a subset of artistry, and woodworking, or I should say woodworking is a subset of artistry, and then lutherie is a subset of that. And it's like the whole woodworking community is very tight-knit and very, I would say, they play their cards close. And it's not because they don't want to share knowledge or share art. It's because what it takes to be good at that thing is just on another level. And if you're in the club, like if they know that you care about what they're doing, they will tell you anything, But if you come off as being disingenuous, they're very quick to not volunteer the information, which I suppose is anywhere. I've just noticed it, especially in woodworking. But it is an art, and it's a crazy art. Like to watch when I first started at Balaguer, when I first moved up to Pennsylvania and was in the shop every day, I had never had that experience of seeing the guitars worked on every day and seeing, I can still remember learning in the early days because Joe wanted me to have a sort of well-rounded approach. He didn't want me to just be a sales guy or just
Yeah,
be a
you want to do multifaceted, right?
yeah. And I had the knowledge from working on my own guitars and all of that kind of stuff, but he wanted me to take it to the next level. And he and other QC techs in the shop trained me to know this stuff better and to pick up a guitar and say, oh, this isn't right, or hey, there's this thing that is an imperfection, or there's this or that. And then, watch him take a guitar, put it on his bench, and then 15 minutes later, you could never tell.
Yeah.
Like it's just the artistry that goes into even the small changes like that repair work and little things that stem from being able to build the guitar from scratch. Like there's
Yeah.
no, there's just no other way to look at it. That is his skill set, and it's what that and the design aspect are the two things that he's just incredibly he's incredibly good at it. He's talented. He's spent the time, put in the 10,000 hours or whatever, and he's incredible. It's watching that at first was like, oh, these things that I thought could never be fixed or could never be addressed or could never be even like considered were things that he was like, oh yeah, let me show you how we do that. Boom, knock it out. And it's impressive. It's impressive to see. And that's sort of I don't want to say the easy stuff, but that's the basic stuff. And then to watch him work on a project from start to finish, which he does. We have a series that we call the Heritage series. Heritage is full USA custom, built entirely by Joe and any team members who are learning under him to like from scratch, this guitar is built this way. And to watch that process is it's inspiring. It's super cool. And I can't do most of it.
Cool. I can't do a majority. I mean, I think I made one bookshelf in like 8th grade. No guitars coming from me. But at the same time, like, there's so much into it. When I got thrust or jumped off that cliff, like, the baptism of fire into that realm of it. It's so, I don't say it's so easy to put on a concert. At that point, it had been part of my DNA for so long. To me, it seemed easy. And I think it's one of those things that really still ties back into when people stop learning, they stop growing. So you really need to continue learning, and it's whether it's like, well, Christine, what the hell is this? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, because like, even during, like, let's look at during COVID, when everything kind of shuttered and shut down. I went and worked at a Harbor Freight. They're like, why? And I'm like, because if I can sell this, I can sell anything.
Yep.
It's just a different, type thing. And I knew my way around the toolbox. I still do. But at the same time, like, I don't know everything. I don't know regulations on things. I didn't, whatever. And that was just the most fun job ever. It was like a sitcom. It really was. It was just like a sitcom. I love my job here. I've returned to life as I know it. But like, I go back there and I visit now because it's just like every single person was just like a sitcom. You have the guy who is always should be fired, but just doesn't get it. Yeah. And you got the girl who got fired for like breathing wrong. And I'm like, how? And then you got, the guy who's jaded and stuck here because he's in, and slamming doors. And it was just one of those things where it was like, I don't know, kind of past time, but it was also really great to talk to people and hear what their life is like. And I'm like, I loved the predictability about that. And I loved the ability that, because in this, in the music industry as a whole, you can somewhat become detached from understanding,
sure.
And in the process though, like that store would sell, like, we talk about lathes and all this stuff.
Yep.
people would come in and they would work, they were woodworkers, and I had already, done all this. So I'd go over there like, okay, this is what you want, and this will probably help you with this. And they'd just look confused. I'm like, okay, well, this goes to this. So I was like, this is how we would do this. I'm like, oh, I've worked, talked to a guitar company and worked with them at NAMM and helped them and stuff. And they would find it so interesting. But then they would start telling me about how the stuff they were using and their drying process for the woods they were using and how they had these thingies. And I don't know, it's just such a different world. And so when you go artistry, subset Luther, whatever, and you keep subset, I'm like, it can keep subsetting. It can keep subsetting for miles. Yeah. So, but it's anybody of any age and any ability can begin learning.
Yes.
Like learning the task of that. And quite frankly, as a person who was thrust into it as like the baptism of fire, I suggest everybody starts today because there's a lot to learn and don't do it my way.
No, 100%. I mean, it is.
It's
I do think, yeah. And it's not just like even in the simplest things.
The devil's in the details. Yeah. The knobs, the tunes, the switches, and there's components, the packs, where's this? Is it this? How's this? What's the shape? Where's the horn sit? Does it have the bevel? Does it, we can go on and on and on about all these different things. Is this guitar tailored for females? Could we make one more tailored for females? Or, okay, well, we got to take body shape into consideration. And there's so much that goes into considering your players.
Yep.
So
and that's, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. So I was just saying, like, as I've seen your roster grow, I've seen regular, I won't say regular Joe Schmoes because I don't think anybody's a per se regular Joe Schmo, but it could be the first guitar they ever plays.
Sure.
And it's, that's going to be a guitar they pick up and they go, oh, wow, my hand doesn't fit around the neck. It's like, okay, well, now you need a different neck release. And it's one of those things where they go, oh, so they're able to find their needs. So whether the Balaguer is the first guitar, their second guitar, the guitar they personally ordered, or the guitar they found on the Facebook marketplace after they broke up with that weird boyfriend that they found on Craigslist, it'll be fine.
Yeah. We have more fun with those because it's like, yo, if that dude was a weirdo, he needs to take a hike. You need to learn how to play guitar because not only will you be able to express yourself, but he'll be super jealous.
Could you imagine? Like you break up, I play this better than you ever did, and then you play it. It's just one of the things. Yeah, I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, revenge is a dish best served cold, right? I think there's something about that, but I do think that there's a, just like the general. It's part of the reason why we got. I mean, our big start was the select custom stuff, right? Being able to offer people what they wanted and give them advice on what would best give them the tool that enabled their inspiration to become reality, without getting too lofty about it. All of that stuff is true, though. That really is what we try to do is, hey, if you want to buy a $1,000 standard series stripped down Balaguer and that guitar, we know from experience, from gigging it ourselves, from playing it ourselves, from having artists play them on the road and destroy them, we know that guitar is going to deliver, period, no matter what. Yeah. We know that if you buy a $2,000 Balaguer, a $3,000 Balaguer, a $4,000 Balaguer, at every price point, it's something that we've refused to sacrifice. The playability, the durability, that sort of thing, our look, our feel. Ability.
And like I love the Facebook group, and I hope everybody knows this. And I'm not doing that just because I'm like, oh my God, they're paying me to be here. I'm not being paid to be here, people. I'm not things where it's like
we tried. She said no.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. She said no to money. It's one of those things too where I go in there and I love seeing the color combinations and the new finishes and the stuff like that. So all right, so once you go to the group, guys, and you read the comments and you see the colors you like, then you waste 4 to 5 of your working hours on the website. Yep. Google it if you don't want to. And then, I mean, even go on ChatGPT and go, what is the best Balaguer combination? And then spec it out. Take a look. Would this look, we can just train ChatGPT, guys.
Yeah, I'm in 100%. And it's so fun because something that I love seeing. So we do have a website, BallyGareGuitars.com. On that
Mhm.
website, you can pull up, for anyone who doesn't know, we have a configurator that lets you construct your guitar. It shows you the spec that you're choosing. It shows you the woods. It shows you the pickups. It shows you the color. You can see all of that before you order the custom guitar.
Yeah.
We also have a discussion group, which we call the Ballagare Guitars discussion group, which is on Facebook.
You guys are so creative with your names.
I know it's right. It's on the nose, you know.
We call
And
it Sesame Street, but not Sesame Street.
yeah, exactly. And it's in that group. That's all it is. All we do is talk shop. We talk about specs. We share
Yeah.
photos of each other's guitars. That's all it is. People might drop in the group and say, "Hey, when is Ballagare doing this?" We see that stuff because we're in the group every day. We see that stuff, and it might spark something in us, you know, to
You realize
develop something new or whatever, you know.
You realize somebody listening to this somewhere who is going through that breakup, who has their weird boyfriend's guitar, is sitting there going, "I'll just go to the group and they'll help me fix this." I'll just go to the group and
Yeah.
they're gonna show it, and everyone's gonna be like, "I know the specs. Oh, that was terrible." Anyway, tell us what you're gonna do. Post your videos there. We'd love to see it play.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. And it really is like people post live footage of them playing their stuff. People post
yeah,
clinics.
it's a
People post
community.
YouTube demos. People post everything. Yeah. And we're lucky and have worked hard to have a really great group of everyone, players,
Mhm.
listeners, collectors, across the spectrum of people who are involved in the guitar or bass in some way, shape, or form, because we've all done those things. We see the value in those things. We know that, you don't have to be Steve Vai to enjoy playing the guitar, just like you
Yeah.
don't have to be, whatever, Taylor Swift to enjoy writing music. Like, it doesn't matter. If it makes you happy, that's all we care about. If breaking guitars makes you happy, buy them and break them. It doesn't bother me. Like, whatever makes you happy, however the
You
guitar.
realize, like, if they're
I'm here
gonna
for
put it in the group, you're gonna like take the video, you're gonna take it down, you're gonna edit a giant censored bar over the guitar, because none of us are gonna be able to watch that. We're all like,
Yeah. There's a big T. We have.
It's mutiny you ever have in that group.
Yeah. Finally, we're the bad guys, and not for being mean to anybody, for being mean to a guitar. Yeah, we definitely a little bit of tease. We have had that as a backup, sort of like this funny little marketing idea that we had was just to one day when we have a guitar that's just so parched out, which we have a bunch of them, but one day when we have the time and we feel like it's the right moment, we're literally just going to film a video of us smashing a guitar, like just to do it. A guitar that we know can't be turned into something that we can sell.
I'll
Like,
be kindling by the time you're done, but
it'll be hilarious. Like, it's just.
what's funny is I watched a video. So my group with my grandmother, she was, she's staunchly Catholic. So I found a priest on Instagram who's actually hilarious to watch. And he just kind of came up in my newsfeed. I'm assuming because the algorithm gods were listening to me talk to my grandma. And he pops on there and he's got a kiwi and a spoon. And he's like, "Hi, how you doing? How's your day going? Yeah?" And then he's got the kiwi center on the spoon, and then he eats the skin of the kiwi and he goes, "How about now? How's your day now?"
Day ruined immediately.
I'm like, one thing in his, I'm like, if you do that with a guitar.
See, that's the thing, right?
The amount of people, they'd be like, "I don't know, I'm having a friend." Oh my God.
Oh yeah, just outrage, which, in a way I'm kind of here for it.
The link.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I mean, we've done stuff. We've done videos of me frolicking through fields. We've done videos and photos. I can be, certainly when the occasion calls for it. We've done stuff with Joe where we've done like July 4th sales where he's got a bunch of roasted maple necks on the grill that he's roasting. And so, like, that stuff is fun, it's just,
It is.
it's goofy.
It's clever. It's cheeky.
Yeah. And there's something cool about not taking yourself too seriously too, which is something that,
You really should. Well, none of us are getting out alive.
No, exactly, right?
We're all on the same page.
And that's
a little less time if we keep going to NAMM and getting the anthrax.
Indeed, yeah. It's a year or two off my life every year, but which at this point is like 20 years. But yeah, it's definitely, I think there's something about like just taking a casual approach where we'll be in the shop, something will go wrong. Things always go wrong. It's just the nature of everything in the universe. Call it entropy, whatever. It Something will go wrong and we'll be pissed off or down about it or whatever. And one of us inevitably will turn to the other one and just be like, you know what, we build guitars. And that's it. And that's how we stay grounded is, we build guitars. That's what we do. We're lucky to be here. We're lucky. We work hard. We work real hard, but we're lucky to be here. We just enjoy it to be able to go to a place to talk to someone who plays a Balaguer whom we've never met before, to go to a show, see someone playing a Balaguer, to wear a shirt in the airport and have someone walk up to you and be like, yo, Balaguer, rad. Those things are things you can't. Yeah, you can't fake for that. You can't fake it. You can't make it up. It's the genuine stuff that really comes from all of the other things that we've talked about. The kindness, the honesty, the all of that, the quality, all of it. Because if you don't have all of it, there's going to be a hole somewhere. And it's a constant process because you elevate some things. So some things might not get the attention you want them to have because you don't always have the bandwidth to do everything at the same time. But you constantly work to lift everything so that what the brand is, not just what it looks like, not what people think, not what's on the internet, none of that bullshit. What the brand actually is every day in the shop with us while we do the work is
the living entity of it.
It is the real thing, and that is what we do, and we are proud to do it, and we love it, and it keeps us grounded because all that other crap just doesn't really matter. We're just trying to do something cool and put some good into the world, into the universe.
Yeah.
And so far it's working, and Joe and I will often laugh, he'll be like, oh, it's kismet. And I call it synchronicity because I'm a police fan, but it's like, it's maybe it's just synchronicity. Like maybe in the universe, at least we can hope that there's some reality to like, hey, good things happen to good people.
Keep listening for the next part of this episode with Jake Trowbridge of Balaguer Guitars. Visit www.whoischristineanyway.com for access to all the social media links and additional podcast episodes.